Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood, and I'm here to do a Halloween character retrospective. Guys, every Michael Myers Monday, I've been doing these retrospectives, and this one is a huge retrospective. And I have to admit, right in front of me, in front of my computer, is I have the Wicca of the Strodes, of Laurie Strode primarily, because I'm going to discuss the Strode family. So I did not know Laurie's parents from the Strode side, their name. So I got her Wicca up here. So I'm going to discuss the Strodes in general. So first I'm going to do the sister connection though. I'm going to do both connections. I'm going to do the sister connection. I'm going to do the current timeline. The sister connection is first. Um, Obviously, we know in the sister connection, Laurie Strode was actually Laurie Myers, or what? But here's the thing: it says known alias, and we know Carrie Tate. But here's something I did not know, and I'll admit to this: was Cynthia Myers. So Laurie's real name wasn't Laurie. Rob actually had that right. Although he changed it to Angel Myers. I guess her given name was Cynthia Myers, but we just never hear it through the movies. Location Haddonfield, Illinois. Now, from a standpoint of the sister connection, the father was Donald slash Don Myers, and Edith Myers. Sister Judith, obviously, brother Michael. Now, here's where the adoption comes in. The adoptive was Morgan Strode and Pamela Strode. So, from that standpoint, let's take what we know about the Myers and the Strodes. The Myers we know very little about other than they lived in Haddonfield and they were, from the sister connection, they were the father and mother. Donald Myers and Edith Myers were the mother and father of, let's see, Judith, Michael, and Cynthia Myers, aka Laurie Strode. So we don't really know much about the Myers, and honestly, even with the current timeline, I'm not trying to jump, so I'll try to refrain from it. With the current timeline is, or sorry, with the brother sister timeline connection is, the Strodes and Myers may have known each other. And again, the one theme that has remained the same in the old timeline and the brother sister connection, which I love, and the current timeline is Haddonfield is still very much a small town. So the Strodes and Myers may have knew each other in the sister timeline, and the Strode and Myers family may have known each other in this current timeline. We just don't know if they have or haven't. We can speculate all we want. Do I feel they knew each other? I feel yes. I feel either way you could play this off. That again, Donald, sorry, Morgan Strode. The one thing we know about him, either no matter if it's from the sister connection or the current timeline, going off the original Halloween, Morgan Strode was in the real estate industry. He was in the real estate business. And considering Haddonfield was a small town, I dare say he was most likely the only one. Think about it. In most small towns back in the 70s, you would have most likely had one bank, one real estate agent. Small towns tend to think small or just be small in general. And I'm sorry if I'm shaking around, but so when I think about that, I'm thinking, so when the murders were committed, when the murder was committed in '63 by Michael killing Judith, his sister, it's most likely that the person who sold the house, who or financed the build of the house or helped with it, was most likely Morgan Strode. Morgan Strode was a real estate agent. He would have had dealings with them, either in the sister timeline or the new timeline. Even if they just bought the house or if they sold the house, they would have had to sell it to what? A real estate agent. Because that's basically, unless you have a real estate license, what the law states is you have to sell it to a realtor to help you sell it. So, my thing of it is, I do believe Donald Myers and Morgan Strode were very familiar with each other, and I dare say the families were familiar with each other in the sister timeline. I dare say the families may have been familiar with each other in this current timeline. You just never know. I mean, again, it's a small town, so put it into perspective of here's this very, very small town, small community. Could they have known each other? And the answer is very, very likely. I'm not going to say yes or no because they may have not have. They may have. It's likely, is what I'll say. And when we get further down into the Strodes, we get into John Strode, obviously. We get into Deborah Strode, Kara Strode, Tim Strode, Danny Strode. And again, what we know about the Strodes is they were in the real estate industry. Now, John and Deborah, we get more of a peek into. John was very abusive. He wasn't a great father. He just tried to, support his family. And what I did like is they kept the secrecy in Halloween 6 with the Strodes. Deborah Strode, and again, for those who don't know, and I'm sure a ton of people do, is they took John Carpenter and Deborah Hill and they took their first names and they used them. This would not be the last time they would do that, obviously, with John Tate. Because John Carpenter. But I do feel like, although it was cringy because, again, the physical abuse of violence, it gave you a peek of who somewhat of the Strodes are, like the other half of the Strodes. We don't know a whole shitload or a whole ton load, pardon the language, of Morgan Strode and Pamela Strode. From either the sister connection or this timeline, what do we really know about Morgan and Pamela Strode? All we know about Morgan is he was in the real estate business. So, and we don't know how long that was. I'm going to assume that was at a young age. Maybe when he got out of college, maybe while he was in college, who knows. So, from the Strode perspective of the sister connection, what we really know about them is they adopted, Cynthia Myers and named her Laurie Strode. The big question is, from the sister connection, is why would they do this if they didn't know the Myers? Now, Rob's version, and I am including that in this, Rob's version is they did not have a family of their own, which makes a shitload of sense. When you think about that, most adopted parents are that. I gotta give Rob Zombie credit for that, and I don't say that much out of my goddamn mouth, and you guys know this, that most adoptions are upon two people not having kids or not being able to have kids. Some do adopt and they fall in love with the child they do adopt, or they're just, hey, we're just going to raise you, but we're not your real parents. And where I'll say the sister connection, where the Stroke with the whole dream sequence / flash repressed memory sequence, I feel it's a bit of both. That in Halloween 2, where Laurie gets told, "I'm not your mother." Laurie gets told by Pamela Strode, I told you, I'm not your mother." So this was more of a, we're just raising you. We more just took you under adoption. More maybe they felt bad for her, and that lets me know. Again, they may have knew the Myers family. They may have knew Donald and Edith. So. And again, that's my opinion. That's my speculation. If you disagree, that's perfectly fine. And again, what we know about John and Deborah, Morgan's brothers, John was a real dickhead. John Strode was an abusive man. Deborah was sort of the mother who was letting it happen, but she felt bad for it. Kara is a product of that abuse. Danny is watching that abuse. What I'll say with the sister connection, the biggest misconception about the Strodes is they have no real relation to the Myers family. So really, Danny is not related to Michael. So people, I think, saying that Michael's going after the Strodes because he's related to them is completely off base and wrong. And I'm not trying to say people are wrong, but I've sort of heard this throughout that, well, Michael goes after the Strodes because he's related to them. Actually, no, he's not related to them at all. There's no biological connection there between, Pamela, Morgan Strode, John Strode, Deborah Strode, Kara Strode, Tim Strode, Danny Strode. There's no biological connection between those Strodes. The only Strode he has a biological connection to is Laurie Strode, aka Cynthia Myers. And no, that name was, again, Cynthia Myers was never revealed that I know chronologically, from a film canon standpoint. But I'm going off the wiki of HalloweenMovies.com. I'll leave a link in the description box for HalloweenMovies.com. Huge shout out to them. They always do an awesome job. Um, so, from the standpoint of the sister connection, the Strodes are very little known, and that's what I'll say. Kara Strode, what we knew, I think Kara was the one we most got to know. The actual Strodes. Now, Lori, is she a Strode? No, not by in the sister connection. She's a Myers. She's only a Strode through adoption, but she more identifies with the Strodes because she was raised by them. Lori, in a sense, from the sister connection, even though her last name is Myers, her name is Cynthia Myers, and her adopted name is Strode. I think her identity is in such a peril state, and that's what makes her such an interesting character from the sister connection. Am I more Myers? Am I more Strode? Or am I my own person? And that's always a unique concept, a way of looking at things. And for the rest of the Strodes, I would say, from Kara's standpoint, Kara was a tough girl, a tough woman, a mother. I loved Kara Strode. Kara Strode is my favorite Strode, even more so than Lori. I love Kara to death. And I will never forget Kara Strode. I love Danny Strode. Kara Strode she was studying to be a psychologist, and I could see her being a doctor today, a doctor of psychology. I'm not going to get into John Tate. We all know about John. Um, so, from my standpoint of the Strode family from the sister connection is, they may have knew Michael Myers, and they most likely, or the Myers family, I should say, and they most likely did. Now, from the current timeline, what I'll say is, do they know the Myers family from 1978 to 2018 and forward? Most likely, and I feel I wouldn't be shocked if that's exactly what they reveal in the new movie, that the Myers and Strodes knew each other. I'm not going to be shocked. I'm not going to be knocked on my ass. Because it's very, like I said, it's very likely. Think about what Haddonfield is, a small town, a small community. It's sort of something Allison was addressing with the whole rumors thing. Even if you don't like that, well, isn't that your uncle? Isn't that her brother? No, that's just a rumor. And again, in small towns, just like big towns, especially small towns, rumors are rumors until you make them fact. So don't make a rumor a fact. And that's what Allison is basically doing. She's not making a rumor fact. She's taking the rumor and letting her friends know what the actual facts are in the new movie. So, and I felt that was very well done. So, from the standpoint, now what we don't get answered is, did they know each other? And that was not answered in 2018, which I'm fine with for now. But I do feel, in my opinion, that the question does need answered. Did the Myers family and the Strode family, because now in this, did they know each other? In this is Morgan Strode and Pamela Strode were Lori's parents. They were her biological parents in this timeline. So now, in my opinion, the question of did the Strodes and Myers know each other does need answered, and that's what I'll say. So I hope you guys enjoyed this Strode family retrospective. I'm going to leave a link to the Halloween movies Wicca. You guys can go check this out where I got this from. This is straight from HalloweenMovies.com. Huge shout, not that they gave it to me, but I went and looked it up. But I'll give them a shout out for sure. HalloweenMovies.fandom.com, I should say, /Wicca/Laurie Strode is definitely something worth a read and a look if you guys haven't read it. Again, I didn't know Laurie's Strode family's name, so I had to look it up. So like, share, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that the Strodes and the Myers knew each other, either in the sister connection or this current timeline? You guys have a good Michael Myers Monday.